Hmm.
Welcome to the Leading with Love podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Arthurs. The purpose of this podcast is to touch your heart, expand your soul, and help us all be everything we came here to be. We have interviews with amazing humans and solo episodes as well, all made to bring more love, more joy, and wisdom into your day. It's a growing list, so check back often and let's dive right in. Hi, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in, whether you are listening or watching. I have a really, really exciting episode for you today because my guest is someone that I love dearly, but more than that, he is beloved by so many people, and it is such a privilege and an honor for me to have this gentleman on the Leading with Love podcast today because he's love embodied. And as you know, this is called Leading with Love, and he is that person. He leads with love. He's a leader. He is just, I've never seen anyone be love so much as I have this person. And he walks his talk, as you will see. His name is John Pogachar, and he almost needs no introduction because if people know him, they just know him as love. And he has a lot of things to share with us today. I'll be asking him some questions. But if you've ever seen a billboard with red background and just the word love in white, just like this word here, that's John Pogachar. This was his baby. This birthed through him, and he's got a lot of other things going on, but that is his mission and his dream, to just share love in this world, and it's mine too. And so we're just resonant with each other, and I admire him so much. He's a dear friend of mine, and I'm very proud to have him on the show. And I don't want to keep you waiting anymore, so I'm just going to bring John right on, and we're going to get started.
Hello, Shauna. I just That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Oh
I
my gosh,
love
yeah.
this whole thing. I love what you got going here. The intro. It's just fun. Very
Thank
plain.
you.
Yeah.
Thank
No, it's
you.
great. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just so grateful that we could do this. And before we started recording here on the show, just for those of you who are listening and watching, and I want to talk to you about this, John, it's something I want to lead into now, is that you were sharing with me. Okay, so just a little story very quickly. John is traveling around the continent, visiting friends. I was blessed to have a surprise visit with him just for one night, maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. I can't even remember. Time is kind of fluid. But as I was preparing for this show, I was thinking about how John is the embodiment of love, how you are, John, as I said. And one of the things that really struck me about what that means in daily life is that you are in your heart and you're present and you flow with whatever happens. You surrender to however things are without projecting or expecting, and then you just go with whatever's presented to you and choose what feels good and notice if you have limiting beliefs. I know I'm talking a lot, but I'm doing this for a reason, because what I love about what you just shared with me before we came on here was that that's not how you felt at all. You felt stuck before you went on this trip. And I'm here to say that you being the embodiment of love is literally what I mean, is that you surrendered and you did it anyway because that's what was calling you forth. So if you would, please tell everyone about that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would say pretty much this summer I spent a lot of time in Montana. I did some hiking, and yeah, did some hiking, on the trail that I really enjoyed, and also having coffee and talking with people. But I was trying to write another book because I've written a couple now, and just like I just feeling stuck. I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I'm kind of doing repeating and doing the same things over and over every day. I feel like I was in the matrix, and so it's like, okay, it's time for a road trip. it's time for a road trip. I'm just going to point the car down the road. And I was kind of coaxed into this direction. And it's like, okay, well, maybe things are all calling me. I know our dear friend Andrea lives in Milton, Ontario, and she had said, come see me. And so, in fact, she had been telling me, come see me all summer long. It's like, okay, well, now it's like almost the middle of winter because it was December 10th when I took off, but there was a little bit of voice that said, "You're gonna go in the middle of winter on this road trip," and I go, "Well, our ancestors have put up roads, so it's not like I'm in a Conestoga wagon going across the United States.
Right. You do have a
Just
vehicle,
go."
safe and
Yeah,
warm.
and there's something like restaurants and there's something like hotels you can stop along the way, and I do know people along the
Yes.
way too, so I can stay with friends. So it's like, okay, I'm off. I started out and I took off from Montana, and bit by bit I made it across the United States. Now I'm in Nova Scotia,
I
um,
love it.
Canada, so which is a beautiful area. I'm staying with some friends, but I
Hmm.
stopped along the way. I stopped in South Dakota and saw some friends. I stopped in Milton and saw Andrea and her beautiful family. I got to see you in Toronto,
It's amazing.
which was fun and fun. And I remember we had a special guest at our dinner in that amazing little pub, but
Oh yeah,
Santa came
Santa. He gave us
and
some free samples.
gave us
And
some free
nobody
stuff.
else, right? You just walked up.
I know.
This is about, and we'll get into this for sure, is that vibration that you live in, right? Is this just this guy, the owner, just dressed up as Santa? He had an entire restaurant full of people, and he came up to us and said, "I would like to share this with you. These samples of what he had been creating." And
Yeah,
of course, we receive right graciously and gratefully, and we're just like, "Thank you." And it was just this beautiful moment of connection, and didn't I didn't see him do that to anybody else.
yeah. But it was just so playful. It was
Yeah.
like we can always have this playfulness in our lives if we're just open to it. Some people might go, no, 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 but just how playful that was for him to come up. It's like,
Isn't that
Santa's,
amazing that someone
yes,
would say no to playfulness?
yeah.
Ooh. Hmm. Okay.
Anyway, right now I'm in this a beautiful home with some beautiful children, and I'm chopping lots of wood, not metaphorically at all, but physically. Um, and so that's what I'm doing, and I'm helping out. I kind of like one of the Troy said, "Are you like a Mary Poppins?" Because I just showed up,
Aw. Because you're such a
making sure
blessing
they're
to them.
making sure the floors are kept swept, taking care of their dog some, bringing in wood, just whatever I can do to help out,
Of
making
course.
dinner times. So it's been fun. It's
I
been
love
fun.
that. I have a
Yeah,
friend who's in Kauai right now, staying with dear friends of ours, and he's the same way. He's cooking for everybody.
nice.
He's the best cook, and so he's just going and gathering food on the property and just cooking stuff for like 10, 15 people every day. That's his gift as a guest, and I just love that reciprocity. And I love that with soul family and friends, we know that wherever we go, there's going to be people we can stay with in a
Mhm.
heartbeat, like in a heartbeat. And this isn't something that maybe everyone will understand, but I think it's a really beautiful thing as the world is evolving that we find our soul family because that's community. And as you and I were just talking about, that is divinity in other bodies.
Yeah.
And when you find those resonant people, you know they've got your back and you've got theirs. And it's unquestioned. That's love in
Mhm.
action. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And also, as you're saying that, it's also abundance. People think,
Yeah.
okay, abundance would have to be just money, but it can come in so many different ways. Abundance of friendships, abundance of love, abundance in nature, the trees. I woke up this morning like at 5 o'clock and went outside and just go, look at all those stars that are just,
Ah,
it's just abundance of stars in the sky and abundance of air. So it's all around us. We just have to realize that it's there. And it's like as you're realizing we have all this abundance, it comes in so many different ways. You know.
that's a beautiful reminder for everybody watching and listening is just
Yeah.
if you're ever feeling scarcity or lack, go
Mhm.
outside, put your feet on the ground, or if it's snowy, don't, go walk or whatever, but how many snowflakes, how many leaves, how many blades of grass, how many droplets of rain. It's unfathomable, uncountable. There is so much abundance. And the more you focus on that, the more you see it, the more it is part of your reality. It is your reality.
Yeah.
I thank you for saying that.
Yeah, having and also having the gratitude for all the abundance that's coming into my life. Because as you be thankful for it, you're gonna be adding more and more to this, more and more gratitude, more and more things are gonna start flowing into your mind because you're gonna start seeing it. It's like
Yes.
I'm so thankful for you. I'm thankful for my friends, for all the nature, and then watch as more things show up for us.
What you
So we'll.
focus on expands, right? And we were just talking about Neville Goddard before as well, before we hit record here. And
Mhm.
I know that his, I mean, so many people have said this, not just spiritual people or, all walks of life. Steve Jobs said your imagination is your greatest power. Richard Branson has said that. So many people have said that. Very, very successful in the sort of 3D, physical, success oriented world have said the same thing. Your imagination is your God given power,
Mhm.
and you flow with whatever you focus on, and that's what you get more of. And look at you, you started out stuck, and now
Mhm.
you're flowing in abundance and friendship and beauty because you
Yeah.
surrendered and you followed that
Yeah.
hit, that calling
Yeah.
you forth.
But like you said, the imagination, what you focus on. I was being stuck. I was stuck all summer, and finally I changed that in an instant, and then took off.
In an instant.
It can happen like that if we
Okay.
allow it to, if we move into it, because you're like our imagination is that thing that can take us wherever you want to go. Let it take you. If you choose
Okay.
to jump in a car and take off across the United States, go do that. If you choose
Ah,
to, you're a 9 to 5 job. If you choose to do that, go
yes.
do that.
And do it
But
fully.
so,
Do it fully, right? Whatever it is, fully and completely, or else you're never present. Isn't that
yeah,
true as well? I mean, if you're thinking about the future or you're not happy where you are, you're really not present.
yeah,
So if you have a job right now and it's what is your reality, there's that surrender again, right? Okay. So be there
hmm,
completely. And then and maybe only then will you see some doors opening metaphorically as to what might be next. Otherwise you're
yeah,
just in your head all the time.
right.
Ugh,
And oh, I love this
I
because
do
just
too.
in a moment, you can you can really realize: do I really want to be here? Do I want to be doing this 9 to 5? Do I want to be wherever I am at this moment? It's like maybe it's time to take a breath and go, okay, if I can change my reality like that, then I'm going to. Then I'm really going to just take off and go do something different. I'm going to change jobs. I'm going to do, or I'm just going to fall in love with where I am, and just be present.
That's how this podcast started was, what wants to happen now? Because I feel like, and we're talking about that we are divinity and we were anyway before we started here. We are iterations of consciousness, right? But it's all
Mm-hmm.
connected. Doesn't matter whether you're exploring that through science or spirituality, it's all the same questions. What are we? What's this really about? And whether you're talking about the quantum field or you're talking about divinity, it doesn't matter. It's all connected. And
Mm-hmm.
unless you're recognizing that, I feel like you're going to miss those signs and signals.
Yeah.
That's just, it feels like when you're quiet and, as you said, you just ask those questions. For me, it's like, what wants to happen now through me? And actually listening. And this was one of those things. I didn't create this, it wanted to happen. And I love that. I love the willingness that you demonstrate and that I feel to just follow what wants to happen. I love it so much. It's the way that we got our visit because we're just like, okay, yeah, seems to be wanting to happen right now. And it was perfectly aligned. I had just arrived from Vancouver the night before, and you had other plans, and that fell through. And it's like, yes. When something you do want, then you yes, 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 right? You fully respond with a yes, then
Yeah.
more beautiful things blossom from that.
Yeah. The visit from Saint Nick.
Well, yeah, exactly. Among so many. See, for us, that was just a reflection of how we were already feeling
Yeah.
from another being of the same essence, right?
Yeah.
It didn't surprise us at all. It just delighted us. And that's another point. I'm sorry. I know I'm just like, I'm talking your ear off because I'm so excited to have you, but I know that I know that you get all of this stuff and it's so beautiful because that guy, Santa, he was literally just the same thing we were already feeling, an outside reflection, because we were sitting there grinning at each other like we are now, like, yeah, this is so awesome. I probably just broke my microphone. So thank you to anyone listening for your hopefully appreciation of joy, because that's what we've got here, and our appreciation.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, just when we get together, we are very much like two little kids,
Yeah.
um, enjoying each other's company. And so I think more people could lead their lives just like with this freshness.
Freshness.
Yeah, just being a child and allowing that all to happen. So
Thank you again.
yeah,
You're just so full of gems always.
I'm
Somebody.
gonna interrupt this for
Okay.
1 second because I need my phone's not charging.
Okay. One
So I,
second. I'm gonna. Okay. I just for anyone watching, I just paused it for a second. John was just plugging in his device, so hopefully everything works there with the continued recording. Um, and I forget what I was saying. Oh, it was about joy and
yeah,
childlike enthusiasm. And somebody just said to me in the last few days that I am too childlike. I have too much enthusiasm,
oh,
too much joy, and my clapping and happiness is kind of embarrassing to them. And I really had to take that in and realize that wasn't about me, because
mhm.
I have come to know that this joy is just life force without any impediments, right? Without any patterns blocking it. This is how we would all feel if we let love in fully. And I'm not going to stop expressing that because it's not me expressing it. And that was the point also. It's just life.
Yeah.
And I love that. Yeah, hanging out with you is so much fun because you know that. So let's talk about you. I
Okay.
apologize again. I want to
No,
hear everything, all the things, so I can ask you questions or you can just go ahead and share what you would like to share.
ask a question. We'll just get
Okay.
started.
All right. Well, as I mentioned in the introduction, you had this idea some few years back to just share love in the world. And the idea that came through you was love on every billboard. Is
Yeah.
it loveoneverybillboard.com that people can find
Yeah.
you at?
Loveoneverybillboard.com. And
I
we just
love that.
recently refreshing some different things on it because it was a little bit stuck itself.
On the website? See, of
Yeah.
course. Oh, that's amazing because it reflected your how you were feeling. Perfect. So
Yeah.
now you're
You're
refreshing it. And when it
laughed.
started, it was a cute little idea, and then it grew and grew and grew, and now there are billboards in Europe, everywhere. How many have you got now?
Over 750 billboards put up. A lot of those have been in the United States, but they've been in London, they've been in Canada, a couple different places.
Yeah.
They've been in Austria, the Ukraine, Russia,
Wow.
in New Zealand, and I think there's 7 different countries right now. But anyway, yeah,
Incredible. And
yeah,
Valentine's Day is coming up. You said that there's a
yes,
really special thing that happened last year and this year even more so. So tell us about
yeah.
that.
This year, another group contacted me. It's a Picasso. The name is a Picasso group out of the Mediterranean and Africa area, and they saw what was happening with the Love on Every Billboard, and they said, "Well, we have signs that go across the Mediterranean. They call that Levant area, and North and West Africa, and into Italy. So they will be using. I sent them the PDF for the love, and they will be using that." In the weekend before Valentine's Day. So I think that's really cool. Now we're going to be in all sorts of different countries. And what's so beautiful about this is that I didn't have to push. I didn't have to call people and say, "Hey, make this happen for us."
Ooh.
It just happened organically. This whole
Mm.
program has been so much like that. Billboard companies going, "We love what you're doing. We're just going to do it for you." I remember that one of the first ones was in LA, and it's like, "Yep, we're just going to give you 6 months for free." It's like, oh, can you do that? So we do own the company.
Yes.
Yes, we can do that for you guys. And
That's
so it's
so
so
amazing.
it's so amazing, and people have sent money and donated money, and it's just been fun to play with. And we've put billboards, at at places where maybe there was a shooting at a synagogue in Christchurch, New Zealand, and so
Wow.
I know 22 billboards went up there, and there was this amazing gentleman that just put together a video for it. And that happened. And but they've been all over the place. Maybe somebody lost somebody. Maybe they wanted a billboard there. Maybe it was for let's just have fun and let's just put one up like Ashton did in Halifax. And so yeah,
So there's all these different reasons, but it's all love.
yep,
Somebody's way of wanting to feel love, somebody's way of expressing love. It's all love. And it doesn't need to say
yeah,
anything else. It just says love. And each person who sees it can receive it in whatever way they need to. That's
yeah.
so beautiful. Thank
I
you
love.
for doing that.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I purposely just did the word no website, no URL on it.
Right.
Um, yeah, because I
It
did
speaks
want
for
everybody to
itself.
speak. Yes, 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 yes. Let it speak for itself.
And you didn't want
So,
to distract from the message, which is just love. There
mm,
doesn't need to be anything else said, just
yeah.
love. Ah,
And people wanted to find me. They didn't have problems finding me. They just
right,
reached out. Yeah.
right.
I
Because
knew
Love
it.
on Every Billboard is such a perfect name that if you Googled Love on a Billboard, what was that? You would find
Yeah.
you. And
Yeah.
as you said, organically, people started coming to you and wanting to support that. And I
Yeah.
love that so much. It's the same spirit of why you said yes when we talked about you being a guest on this show, because
Mhm.
it's just a yes, because it's
Yeah.
love and we both know it. And it's more than the sum of its parts. All of these
Mhm.
things are. The fact that these people are doing these things for Valentine's Day in Europe, it's so beautiful. And it's a reflection of you getting unstuck and flowing, and look what's coming back.
I didn't even think about that part of it.
Yeah,
It is. It is.
of course it is. Because the world is a
Hmm.
mirror, because it's
That
all
there's
one
big.
energy. It may be a kaleidoscope and it may be fractals and it may be a hologram or whatever it is. We
Mhm.
don't know. But it's
Yeah.
definitely a mirror. Wow.
Well,
For those of you who are listening and not watching, we're just breathing
yeah.
in gratitude and
Wow.
recognition.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
John, go ahead,
sometimes
please.
so fun to have a conversation, have somebody reflect something back to you. And you are such a great person for that because you are so much in the work. You are so much that embodies the love, this transformation, this knowing that I'm so much more than this body, this mind.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's like when I talk with you, it's like, well, when I talk with you and when I talk with everybody else, it's just that realization that we're all God
Yeah.
and we can have a conversation with each other.
Ah, I hardly notice bodies, I've got to be honest.
Mm,
Or looks. Like it's just when you just can feel someone's energy and their essence and you're just talking to that, my heart to your heart.
yeah,
Um, I don't know, it just goes so far beyond the physicality. It's
yeah.
almost like our
So much
bodies are just
deeper.
carrying us around, but
Yeah, it's so deeper, and it's like, yeah. There's so much more than, like you said, the physicality.
oh, forgive me.
Like,
Sorry, as I mentioned before, I'm just sitting on a floor here in my Airbnb and it's just getting comfortable. I want to ask you also about, well, everybody who knows you will know this, but for those that do not, John is an author. He mentioned he's written a couple books, but they're not just books. No, no, they're not just any books. They're special, special, beautiful books for beautiful souls. And that is children coming into this world and the parents who are bringing them forth into this world that is evolving and changing and has so much going on, and in which many of us have forgotten that we're part of nature and we don't connect in with it. And we forget that love is the leading force in life. And I think parents do remember that, of course, most exquisitely when they have a newborn. And your books speak to that. Here's what I want you to know. Here's what I want you to remember. So, can you tell us about your books, please?
Oh, yes. Well, the first book was written and published on March 10th of last year, of 2022. So it's called Mom and Dad 10 Things I Want to Know by the Time I'm 1 week old.
Hmm.
And I wrote it from a child's perspective, speaking to its parents about what is life going to be like that, and what can I expect, and can I add my own thoughts? Can I go ahead and say, hey, if we were meditating here, wouldn't that be awesome? When we will be able to quiet our minds and bring that into life? And it's like, and do I have windows in my room? Will I have windows in my room? And because I want to breathe in some fresh air. It's like, when are you going to take me places? Where are we going to go? And there was another, I would say, chapter or a thing that wanted to know, and that was, I want to find out about what you guys like to do. Whether you like to ski, if you like to ride bikes, but also let me decide what I want to do. I think
Mhm.
that sometimes we can go, oh, I was a police officer, so you have to be a police officer. Or I was a lawyer, grandpa was a lawyer, we're all going to be lawyers. Like,
Mhm.
what if I wanted to be a rock and roll star and just play the guitar? Would that be fun too?
Ah,
So allow me to be who I am. So I just love these books. The second one is about nature, mom and dad. I kept it in the series of mom and dad, 10 things I want you to know about nature, about the wind, about birds, all, what they're called. We all have a special calling to us. And as a bird, they all have a special song. And so, but it's both books have been written from a child's perspective, what they would like to bring to the world. I had handed this book to several people and have them pick it up, or start looking through it, and they go, "Oh, this is something I need to take home because I do not have any Kleenex here. I'm just going to cry." It touches people's inner child that haven't done maybe a lot of kind of work that we call it, and they just would like to go, oh my gosh, I want to be this little kid too, to say, you know what, I've really been wanting to pick up a violin or a piano, not metaphorically, but pick up, and try the piano and see if there's something there, because I always wanted to do it. We didn't have the money or didn't have the time to do it when I was a little kid, but now I want to try these things. So those books are a great reminder, and they come from a little kid say, "This is what I want to do." And so I just love them. They're on Amazon. People want to pick them up. Please do. Yeah,
well, you can see John Pogachar's name, and I'll put your information in the show notes too, for
great.
anyone who wants to get in touch with you and see you and buy your books for themselves, or for anyone who's pregnant or has a small child. It's almost really for any human. And
Mm,
because of what you just said, it was so beautiful as I was listening to you talk about how just the energy of love and reminder of what we really are that you infused into these books is given to someone when they have the book in their hands, and even without reading it, they just know, they receive that energy, and it cracks their heart wide open. And that is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I have a friend who he writes songs, and he sometimes shares these raw songs with me, and I just start bawling. And it's not like he doesn't even have words yet, or it's just something he's playing on the piano, but it's soul just coming through, and so it just cracks your heart open. And
mm,
that is what the world needs. That is what this is. It's leading with love. And you're so loving. I've never seen anyone put or write a story from a baby's perspective before, and it's such a gift in so many ways. Like, remember who you are too, mom and dad. Remember who you are. Remember to
mm,
play. Remember to be in nature. Remember to let me unfold as I will, while guiding me and sharing your wisdom with me. And remember that I'm my own unique person, and remember that you are your own unique person and you get to play too. And I know I'm extrapolating a lot from what you said, but I got a lot from what you said,
yeah.
because it's just so beautiful. So buy John's books for everybody you know, for parents and grandparents, and because they're just so beautiful. Which, you know, they're not huge books, right? They're not giant volumes. They're sweet little books, and sometimes, often, simplicity like that is the most powerful medium, the most powerful way to portray something really, really beautiful and impactful. Simplicity.
Yeah, I was gonna say so the they're not big volumes, but the simplicity speaks volumes.
Yes. Yeah, it's powerful. It's so when you said something about napkin, you reminded me. So John, when he goes to visit people, will draw a little something for them.
Ah,
This is you're very creative. I don't know if you know this. I'm sure you do. But creativity comes in different ways. And in fact, this friend who writes songs, he was saying he's a creative and his creativity is singing and creating music and entertainment, and yours is writing and drawing and sharing your heart. And so John, for those of you who don't know, he draws these little flowers and pictures on napkins. Like we are at a Starbucks one time, and John, I still have the napkin that you drew for me with the stars, the flowers on it, because it's just another way that you share love, and you just, it's like it comes out of you onto the napkin, and that love is in the little paper napkin. It's amazing how you infuse things with love.
yeah,
You
it was
really
fun.
do.
Yeah, thank you. And they became part of the book too. That my doodles and stuff like that, because a couple years ago when I was coming up with this idea to do this book, it was like, okay, well, I should have somebody else, do it. When another loving, beautiful person we know said, do your own drawings.
Yes.
You can do this yourself. So that was a kick in the pants, and also
Yes.
the universe reminded me, hey, you have skills, you have knowledge, you have these gifts, and you've been drawing this flower. So it's like, yeah,
I love your illustrations. They're
yeah,
adorable and perfect. And who better to illustrate what you wanted to share than you? It's
hmm,
coming through you.
yeah, yeah,
Ah, it's beautiful. So, I know that you only have so much time. I think we're okay for time right now.
yeah.
But I know that you really are exploring, even though you already know from all the work that you've done, the power of, as we've kind of touched on, knowing that you're part of something larger and that
Hmm.
we really are all one energy living out different lives. And it's kind of neat. It's like all one, but and different iterations of consciousness that make for the richness of life, that make for the kaleidoscope that we get to enjoy while we're here. Do you want to talk about that?
I love that kaleidoscope.
Because it's always ever shifting, right?
Yeah, it's ever shifting. But yeah, we are all one consciousness, and but we have that consciousness goes through our minds, and so it's definitely being filtered through different lenses, and so one person might like tacos, another person might like pizza, and someone likes to go out in nature, and another person likes to go run through nature, and the other person is just walking and just enjoying it. But this got the other guy is actually does a marathon through nature and enjoys it that way. It just it adds to so much diversity, so much richness. I always say that God wants to experience all these different ways, and He's got all these people experiencing life in so many different ways. It adds to, God's ability to feel and see things, this universe, all different ways, and even and it allows it to see and feel through. Everybody's on a different journey. Some people are waking up at different places, and some people aren't waking up, and some people are waking up even more. And I was listening to somebody else said, instead of calling things one way or another, it's just like, what if we just allowed everything to be unknown? It was kind of a neat idea, just like, I know this or I know that, and then we capsulate it and go, it's got to be a certain way now. But if we would just said, I don't know what this is, I don't know where we are, and allowed all the different ideas or thoughts that could come from the universe. So go, here's a plethora of different ways to do things, like a plethora of different ways to go on a hike or make money. to go visit people all sorts of different ways. And so I know people have said, well, what are you going to do now? It's like, I don't know. And how that, what way wants to show up now?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I just love listening to you. You're just so beautiful and wise, and I remember when I really learned that we're afraid of the unknown.
Mhm.
Generally, most people are, until we're not, until we recognize that it's only in the unknown that magic can happen. Otherwise, we think we know everything, we're trying to control everything, and we don't
Mhm.
leave room for the universe to do its job, for God through us to do its job. And shift the kaleidoscope around. Like, what if you think what you want is this, but all of these amazing other things are trying to happen for you, through you, and you're so afraid of the unknown that you're like, nope, this is how it has to be. You're limiting the kaleidoscope. You're limiting the experience of life, and you are such a beautiful example of not doing that, of just saying, okay, cool, bring it on, what's next? I lost you.
Okay.
Okay, so exactly what just happened, if you caught a glitch in this recording, is exactly what we're talking about. Because there is an iteration of me that a few years ago may have been very stressed. Oh my gosh, I lost John. I don't know what happened. He disappeared, his camera was off. But this amazing program that I'm using, shout out to Ecamm, it allows me to pause. So I paused the recording and I just texted John and I was like, hey, I lost you. I don't know what happened. And then now I pressed play again. So forgive us for whatever glitch happened there in the audio and video, but it doesn't matter.
Mhm.
What you can see and hear that neither of us are stressed. My energy is completely clear and clean. I'm not stressed at all. I cannot control that. Even if I wanted to, there's a perfect example of I'd be like, oh my God, I would, let's do this again. No way. We're way too far into this conversation to start again, just like we're way too far into life to start again. So, whatever happens, resisting it serves nothing except to make our nervous system anxious and angry and, expectations, someone recently said, are resentments waiting to happen. I think Randy, one of my guests, said that, and I was like, "Oh, yeah." It's a saying from a 12-step program, I think, but like expectations make us so miserable, and surrender to just, okay, cool. I mean, nothing I can do about that, and you're back, and it's fine.
Yeah.
It's perfect. And
Yes.
maybe that even happened to demonstrate exactly the lack of control that we have, that we were just talking about.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Like you said, in a past moment, I would have been like, oh, frantic, trying to
Oh, you
push
too?
the my whole I would have been probably pushed every button I could have, to go, oh my gosh, what's Shauna gonna think about? What did I do? I don't know what.
Ooh,
But now it's just like, okay, the universe is being playful. It wants this, have you learned that lesson that it's all okay,
yeah, it's
to
all
go
okay.
back. And it's so beautiful, and I get to play. It's almost playing once again in the sandbox of life and going, okay, I lost my shovel, where did it go? And it's like,
Ah,
so it's like,
I
okay,
love
just
that.
pick up the shovel and start playing again. So, yeah.
Ah, that's such a perfect analogy. I love that. Thank you. I love how you keep bringing things back to play. I forget that sometimes. Have you ever heard of the gene keys or human design or any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes I
Our
think it's just a bunch of, I don't know what. And sometimes when I read those gene keys, they're just stunningly, stunningly perceptive. And one of
uh,
my, they have, okay, how shall I say this? There are levels of, when you read your gene keys, they're drawn from human design. It's sort of your blueprint, your energetic personality blueprint for this lifetime. And it's very, very illuminating, quite literally and metaphorically, um, as to what would work for you, how you thrive, and what might block you. It's really, really cool for those of you who haven't explored it. And one of it, so it has three levels, right? One is your shadow, the way this a particular gene key shows up as a shadow, and the way it shows up as a gift, and the way it shows up as a city in your life, which is the highest form of what this can be in any human being. It's all humans, and they're so beautiful. And one of my major things in this life, and I don't even want to admit this, ooh, to transcend, is seriousness. seriousness, taking things too seriously. And sometimes when you read your gene keys and your first reaction, I've seen this in many people, is to be like, nah, I'm not like that. That's not me. No way. I've seen it. I've seen it around a table with my friends in Kauai, and they were like, no way. I'm not like that. As their gene keys were being read, it was such a pivotal moment in my life. It's this moment in Kauai last year, and the gene keys were being read specific to each person around the table. And there was there were a couple of couples, and their partners were like, yeah, you are. And so it gave them something to go look at and ponder and really explore in themselves. And they came back a couple of days later and like, wow, I really am like that. And it's not that you are like that, it's that that manifests this way when I'm not being my true self, when I'm not aligned, when I'm not in my heart, when I'm not connected. This manifests like this as part of my shadow. And it's so cool. And so seriousness turns into delight, which is the gift, turns into ecstasy. Woo! I'm getting shivers on that. So my highest gift in this lifetime, one of them, is to feel and express the energy of ecstasy, which we know is true for me, right? It's true for all of us, but it's such a beautiful guidebook, the Gene Keys. And I love you. You've got to have play and joy in yours somewhere.
Yeah.
Because you
Yeah.
so beautifully keep bringing it back to that.
Yeah. It's just like going back to, and I know the children's books came from that playfulness, that delight, that's joy, that love. It's like, okay, can we go back to being a kid again? I don't care what anybody says. My father always said, when are you going to grow up? When are you going to grow up? And it's like, what if we didn't have to grow up? What if we could, we continually age, but what if we could just come from this playfulness, this fun, this joy, this like I'm gonna goof around if I'm at work or I'm at home or whatever, and just have fun and just see what can come out of just being a little kid again, metaphorically, and just play and have fun. And those books, that book was written, both of them, just out of this idea of having fun. I dedicated both my books to my grandsons, and specifically the first one to my first grandson because Finley is in the middle of a mud puddle playing. He's got his snowsuit on. He was 1 year old at that time, and I just got this picture of him. And out of that picture, what I was hearing was, "Grandpa, life's gonna be messy, so just jump in and play."
And splash around
Yeah,
and
splash
have
around.
fun.
Yeah,
Ah, wow. When you were talking about your dad saying to you, when are you going to grow up? It reminded me of, I think a lot of us get this from our parents. Gosh, this is so beautifully all interconnected, of course. Like, when are you going to grow up? Be responsible. I've been told, and I had this conversation on another episode with my gal Lisa, who came on, that the me exploring all my different interests, which is me being like literally curious and interested in things, um, was irresponsible. And that is such an awful word. Or when are you going to grow up? Never, 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 never. The fact that people have lost their childhood sense of delight and curiosity, I think is one of the saddest things ever. And you are living, walking proof that that joy, that sense of curiosity and play brings you so much in your life, John. And it also makes you a gift to everybody you touch. You are such a gift to this world, and I'm so grateful to walk this planet with you. And I see, it's like I get this connection with you, but I see you. I see your radiant love showing, spreading, sharing, being, I don't even have the right words. You can see I'm kind of losing my words here because there are no words for when something radiates like that. The words aren't fast enough to keep up with the energy that you're emitting, which is love and joy and playfulness. And you are the epitome of somebody who is filled with gratitude. I remember you talking about when you went out east on the East Coast where you are now, and it was rainy and, or no, icy and snowy, and you surrendered into that. And then you saw beauty. And you are someone who shares beauty. You share beautiful pictures on everybody's birthday. You capture it and then you share it. And you're just you share love and joy and play and appreciation so much that it opens other people's hearts to the same thing, just like your books do.
Mhm.
I
Thank
know,
you.
talking so much because I'm just so like, I love you.
I love you too.
You're like a walking invitation to love and joy and play and gratitude.
Yeah.
What
So are you,
more?
Sean. I mean, they'll look at, if people, you should know this by now because she's got this beautiful podcast going, but Sean is an amazing woman and just so playful and so much energy. I mean, I've heard, as when we've talked or you send a message, people around me go, who's that? It's just like they would like to meet you with all this energy and playfulness. So you have it, you have it too. Everybody else has that too, and yeah, you mentioned something about, people's childhoods being taken away from them, but at any moment you can have that back. Just
Mm.
start focusing back on what was it like to be a kid again. Go run through Toys R Us or something like that and just go, oh, I used to have that toy, or I had that toy, or I want to play, or I want to doodle on a napkin and just start creating, or just whatever. Maybe it's like, oh, I'm gonna pick up a guitar and just play. But everybody can get back to that playfulness, that joy that they had. if
Keep
they if they
going.
felt it missing, just grab it and just start playing again. Just whatever you need to do, grab a beach ball and just go grab a friend and go out on the beach and just play, because it's good. It's all good.
That's so beautiful. I love what you said about going to a Toys R Us. I don't even know if they're still in business, but a toy store, because our memories are anchored, right? So as soon as you see that toy or that candy, even, or anything from it, like it'll just like explode into these memories of the feeling of what it was like to be a kid. And
Mhm.
that is such a beautiful idea
Yeah.
of to access that energy of what it's like to be wide open and think that everything is possible. That's what it is. We
Mhm.
start getting told that our dreams are too big. I remember Matthew McConaughey saying that, something like that. I screenshotted it when I saw it because he was like, or was it Christian Bale or some actor said something like, why is it that when we're little kids, we get told to dream big? You can be anything. You could be an astronaut. You could be whatever, right? And as we grow, then we're told you're being silly. You're dreaming too big. You're a dreamer. Don't, start paying attention to what's real. Be realistic. Ugh. Realistic is for those not watching but just listening, I shuddered. Be realistic. It's actually the most realistic thing to connect in with that energy because everything is possible. It is, it is, it is.
That is so good what you just said. Connect back into within ourselves, to that energy that's there always for us, that just loving and caring for us. That
Hmm.
answer always to go within and love ourselves even more.
Ah, I love that. If
Oh,
I could bring anything to this world, it would be help people to love themselves. I hear people say they don't love themselves, and I just, what? That's how awful. So I'm going to ask you to expand on that for anyone who's listening and watching. What does it mean to love yourself, and how can we nurture that, nourish that, expand that?
well, I think a lot of times we start looking outside for something. If I had the perfect job, I would love myself. You get the perfect job, and it's like, okay, now what? It's like, oh, if I had the perfect mate, I would be fine. Okay, then you get that, and you go, but now what? I still don't feel fine. It's like, finally, after looked outside of ourselves for so much, you go, what is it? What is it that I need to connect? And you come to this, asking and being curious, and start asking these questions and talking to people. It's like, go inside, quiet your mind, and just go, what do I need to connect to? And you find that this love, this joy, these miracles, this playfulness are all hidden within inside. It's like somebody put it right on our nose. It's not outside of us, in a job, in the money that we make, whatever. Those are all great things to have, but the love that you really need is within you. Find out who that. finding out who you really are, connecting to it, your God self, that spirit
Mm.
within inside that's been sitting there all, your whole life, just going, they've come inside, even if it's just for a moment. And then all of a sudden you go, wow, that was so wonderful, that moment. What if I can have it again? And then finding out I can have this all the time. I can connect to myself all the time and just feel this love that's always there. I don't have to go outside myself to find love, the joy. It's like it's within. So go within and then go experience whatever you want to do in life.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I love how you said, you just briefly gave me this moment of recognition, which is exactly that. That it's like it's been waiting all along, just waiting for you to be quiet and recognize. It's not even quite a remember, it's a recognition of, oh, this is what I already am. I remember that too, as it starts like a practice of self love. And, there's a lot online about self care, which is beautiful. It's an avenue, it's a window into all of this, right? Whether you meditate, whether you go play, it's all leading you here,
Mm-hmm.
where you recognize that self love doesn't even make any sense at some point. It's just love, it's what you are. And that's how you then start radiating it, because you're like, oh, and so there's more than enough. There's no scarcity of love. And then you be you and you radiate it and share it wherever you go. You're like I don't even know, just you're like Santa, actually, giving gifts metaphorically wherever you go. You even have the lovely white beard. I hope you don't mind my saying so. For those listening and not watching, John has this beautiful white beard. You are like Santa. You're just actually giving gifts uh, of love and reminder to people that they are already that and they have it all. Wherever you go, whether it's online or in person, sharing your billboards all over the world. My heart is so touched right now. I'm
I love
so
you, Marie.
grateful for you, that you exist and that you followed that hit, because I know, because I've known you for a long time and I remember the story when you were, this idea that came to you of love on every billboard, and it's like you had to step up into doing that and thinking it could be a thing, and that anyone would support you and that anyone would even want this, and that this wanted to happen through you. And now look at it.
Yeah.
So
Yes,
beautiful.
because I sat with that idea for a month and a half
Okay.
until I started seeing it all over the place. I saw love on people's t-shirts. I saw it in a display window. It wasn't until I was in Canada, in Sydney, Canada, which is over in Vancouver, I believe.
Opposite side of
So,
the continent.
yeah, the opposite side of the continent, that I saw a rock that was sitting on a wharf on a pylon. And I walked over to that rock, and it was all red, and it said the word was love on it. I looked at the guy and I said,
Like,
of course it
okay.
would be. Of course it would be. And as soon as I get back to Spokane where I was living, I'll do it. I will put love on a billboard. Just do it and just see what happens. So,
So
yeah.
your higher self or divinity or the purpose through you or whatever it was, just sending you signs and signs and signs and signs. Love, love, love. It was your reticular activator, obviously, but it just kept happening until you're like, okay, fine, okay, okay, okay. And you just started doing it, and it's just exploded
Yeah.
from there, because when you are in purpose, it becomes bigger than you are,
Yeah.
right? We don't know where this conversation is going to go. We're just showing up with our hearts open, but we don't know who this is meant to touch or inspire. We just give everything we've got, just like you did, and then let it go do whatever it wants to do in this world.
Yeah.
And whoever wants to show up and support it or share it will do so, because they're all parts of the same purpose, playing their own parts.
Yeah.
So cool.
It's like tossing a rock into a pond and then
Yeah.
watching the ripples go out, and you don't know who's going to be touched by that.
We
So,
can't ever know.
yeah.
All we can do is show up fully and be
Mhm.
what we're being asked to be, and then let it release it into the world. I
Yeah.
love that you know that. I love that so much. Thank you. I feel like, I
Thank
mean, is
you.
there anything else you want to say?
No, this is so good.
I
I
know
just
it feels complete, right?
Yeah, it does. It feels very complete. I just love you for having to listening to what you want to do, and that's to do a podcast because you get to touch so many people, remind so many people that they are just very special individuals and beings, and you get to share this, part of your journey, and yeah, it's good.
This wasn't even me. I swear to you, I've said this before and I don't like admitting it, but I've never even watched or listened to a podcast. This was a reflection of people to me. Shauna, you
Hmm.
should do a podcast. And so
Yeah.
like with you and your idea, I sat with it for probably about the same amount of time, actually, a month or two, because it was being called to be done. And I
Yeah.
was like, really? I never was on my radar at all. And then once I finally, it's like you commit to that path.
Hmm.
Doesn't everybody say that? And then everything happens.
Yeah.
And everybody that I asked, like yourself, that was a yes for me, they were like, yes, definitely, I want to be on. It was just yes, yes, yes energy. So beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful. Thank you
You're amazing.
so much for being here and
Yo,
sharing yourself so fully.
yo, thank you.
We're
Thanks for
all
having me.
grateful. Yeah. So I'm going to finish. I'm going to wrap this up now. I'm just going to run the little intro. I'll send you back to the green room and I will see you shortly with so much
Perfect.
gratitude. Ah, you're the best.
Oh my goodness.
Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you enjoyed this episode and it helped you open your heart, feel inspired, and know that we are all connected. Please
God.
subscribe and share so this work can touch more people. This is how we co create the world we want to live in. Thank you so much again for joining us, and talk to you next time.